Drowning in debt?
For this just one creditor, we are, I believe it's just under $30,000.
Are your rights violated?
When you watch the predatory nature of the system, it's hard not to throw up.
Are you under stress?
My husband was deployed. I had a creditor that was trying to serve me with papers.
Feel like you need a life raft? During our program, consider becoming a member of our Money Life Raft. Here's our host, Cassandra Walton.
Before we get started with our first guest, I want to update you on some laws that are protecting you now and beginning summer of 2023. With COVID, the flu, and so many other illnesses, I'm sure many of us have racked up quite a bit of medical debt over the past few years. The numbers bear it out. It's estimated that 50% of Americans now carry medical debt, according to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And as I speak, creditors are owed almost $140 billion in medical debt. There are protections under the No Surprises Act. On January 1st, 2022, a law went into effect. You should not receive unexpected bills for emergency services received from a healthcare provider or facility that you did not know was not in your network. In July 2022, a law took hold, and now unpaid bills can only be reported if they remain unpaid for 12 months. And starting in July 2023, medical bills and collections for $500 or less will not be included on your credit report.
Welcome to our special credit program brought to you by Money Life Raft. My name is Cassandra Walton, and joining me today is my first guest, Crystal Hyde. Crystal is an entrepreneur, a debt survivor, a cancer survivor, and she's also going to be joining the team of Money Life Raft. So Crystal, how are you?
I'm good.
How was the pandemic for you?
Oh, at the time of the pandemic, I had just handed over a business that I'd spent, the previous 5-6 years building, and I handed that over with a divorce.
Oh, wow.
With maybe a little bit of resistance, but so I was going through a divorce, and I decided to open a coffee shop, to buy and open a coffee shop. And so here I am getting licensed for this coffee shop, and got my final license on the day that Utah shut down for the pandemic and for COVID. So I was going through that, and then shortly after that, I was diagnosed with stage 3 ovarian cancer. So here I am, seeking treatment, a single mom, and so there was a lot that happened in that for me.
So Crystal, being a cancer survivor, how did you deal with medical debt?
Well, there's a part of that medical debt that I didn't deal with.
Okay.
I found myself in cancer treatment, and I had a doctor tell me, treat your medical condition and your cancer treatment as though it's one of your businesses and you'll be successful. And that is probably one of the most powerful pieces of information that I had. A part of me disconnected behind the emotion of how serious stage 3 cancer and my diagnosis was. I knew throughout that entire time, no matter where I was at in life or where James was at in life, I still had him in my corner, and he was still checking in on me and my health all throughout the entire process.
So how much debt were you in medically? And we know that you're joining the team at Money Life Raft. What do you intend to do?
So overall, throughout, that time period, I had over $5.4 million in medical care. And part of that journey, I was able to work with James, and he was able to get me some medical insurance, and put me in a situation to where that massively helped, both my health and my finances. So as far as joining the team at Money Life Raft, I am coming on to help really simplify and put into place operations so that when customers join Money Life Raft, they have a very simple, streamlined, and efficient experience so that we can get them through whatever crisis their life is going through. And if they have to be, moved from just having credit repair and fixing something that way and actually working with a legal specialist and taking care of stuff on the legal side, that is done seamlessly and effectively so that everyone can reach their goals.
So who is James, and why helping people with their credit, debt, and peace of mind is so important?
I had a woman call me hysterical holding a 1-year-old baby, and they were coming to take her house, and her husband was deployed to the Middle East.
Next up, meet the founder of Money Life Raft, James Fowler. But first, Melissa shares info on the first of our 3 membership plans.
Thanks, Don. Our membership program is really simple. The Bronze plan is just $39 per month, and our counselors will review your credit reports and suggest action. You will also receive a comprehensive ebook outlining your rights with a step-by-step action plan. You will have access to nearly 30 different credit response letters to send to creditors based on your situation. You can talk to our credit counselors via live chat on your computer. It is easy to get started. Just visit moneyliferaft.com or call the number on your screen. Remember, if you're drowning in debt, we will give you a hand up. Now back to our Money Life Raft program.
Here's Cassandra Walton.
Welcome back. I'm Cassandra Walton, and I want you to meet the founder of Money Life Raft, James Fowler. Now, if it seems like he's very serious about helping families change their lives, that's because his life was forever changed by a flawed system. Now we're going over to our money correspondent, Neil Gordon.
I had a woman call me hysterical holding a 1-year-old baby, and they were coming to take her house, and her husband was deployed to the Middle East.
Legal consultant Jim Fowler has seen it all in his 30-year crusade for justice for himself and for others.
I've seen handicapped, I've seen sick, elderly, healthy, mothers, children. I've seen them all attacked. We had a 10-year-old child that they were trying to collect money from because somehow somebody got her Social Security number. And it was a single mom that was trying to defend that.
He's mad and he's not going to take it anymore.
When you watch the predatory nature of the system, it's hard not to throw up.
And those include threats during multiple phone calls.
A lot of it is illegal. A lot of it goes against the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. They threaten your wages. They tell you that they're going to cut your Social Security. They say that they're going to come and take your home, your car, just a number of threats. It's all threats and intimidation.
Reverend Jim grew up as a youth pastor in Ohio, and he spent many years bringing people together.
I believe there's something in Scripture says the love of money is the root of all evil, and that is absolutely the truth.
In the early 1990s in Florida, Jim was a loan executive, but he discovered his boss wasn't paying out money to his clients. So Fowler became a federal whistleblower and quit his job. His boss got indicted, but they also arrested Fowler. He served time, but before the trial, the judge declared he was the victim. He says from that point on, the FBI was out to ruin his life. He ended up starting GlobalNet, a dial-up internet company, and took on a telecom giant to help him. Jim leased the top 15 of 17 stories of this skyscraper building in this downtown community. He moved here to Augusta, Georgia to be closer to family and to form a partnership with MCI. Together, they had 268 offices across the U.S. They employed thousands, all who ended up losing their jobs as the FBI came calling again. And as a result, Jim's credit score went from more than 800 to less than 300. And he was forced to shut down his business. And it was then God inspired him to learn the law. Since he has gotten 5 of 7 indictments dropped against him, and he's helped countless of others in need of credit repair and debt relief, and he's caused the release of many judicially abused people.
Yeah, Vicki, that's right. The attorneys now taking on Karen Cypher's case from this point forward are part of a group called the U.S. Justice Watch.
And he even led the legal team on behalf of the woman who accused then Kentucky basketball coach Rick Pitino of rape.
And I very painfully learned about how to deal with the system. I've dealt with it all. I've seen it. And when I see someone who's being victimized by it like I was, or even partly like I was, it's heart-wrenching. I feel their pain.
Life experiences taught him to stand up to the bully on behalf of his clients. And he adds, if creditors or collectors call, answer. If those same people write to you, make sure you write back.
You create your own problems when you don't respond, and they become very big because it will escalate. It's going to escalate because if nothing else, they'll sell your debt. And if they sell your debt, now somebody's putting money out to be able to come against you for a profit. So what happens is it'll eventually make it to court. Eventually you'll have a process server, which is generally some sheriff's deputy that's showing up and serving you a lawsuit. If you don't respond to that, 20 days out, you're going to have a judgment, and then they're going to come and take your things, whether it be your money or whatever.
However, Faller says most people who run up big debts just don't know how to respond.
The people that are collectors can be very vicious, very dishonest, and somewhere along the line, this kind of work became my ministry. And with great power comes great responsibility. And the power became knowledge and ability that I can use to effectively help people.
So he's produced a cost-effective system and collaborated on the book, Winning the Credit Game.
We've created about 30 different responses. There may be a couple more than that. For example, a response to an identity theft, a response to an IRS enhancement that's not valid, a foreclosure on a mortgage, car loans, credit card loans, wrongful credit reporting. That's a big one because it affects everybody's life and their cost of living.
Reporting for Money Life Raft, I'm Neil Gordon.
Much more ahead for us. Meet a military family outside of Savannah, supposed to be protected by federal laws. When cruel creditors get out of line, Money Life Raft steps in.
My husband was currently deployed. I had an attorney's office that kept trying to serve my husband. It happened 3-4 times before I actually reached out to somebody for help because this attorney, he didn't care that my husband was deployed. He didn't care about the SCRA Act.
That's coming up. But first, a key service you get with the second level of your Money Life Raft membership.
Dawn, our silver membership is just $69 per month, and not only do you receive the review of your credit reports, an ebook, nearly 30 different creditor response letters, and live internet chats with our counselors, you also have one-on-one phone time so we can answer your questions and give you personal, confidential attention to your private money issues. You can call the number on your screen. Make sure to visit moneyliferaft.com.
Military families are a community that fights for our freedom. They typically don't earn as much as civilians and are considerably in much more debt. The Military Family Advisory Network studies this and finds 27% of service members had more than $10,000 in credit card debt, and just 16% of civilians carry the same amount of debt. 1/3 of military family surveys said they struggle to pay bills each month. The unemployment rate of military spouses is 26%, mainly due to moving around so much. Welcome back to our special credit program by Money Life Raft. I'm Cassandra, and today we have with us Savannah Oden. She's joining us from Jessup, Georgia. Now, Savannah, I hear that you are a military spouse and that you've come across some difficulties with credit while your husband was away. How are you, Savannah?
I'm good. How are you?
Savannah, could you tell us a little bit about your financial difficulty that you were experiencing?
My husband was currently deployed. I had an attorney's office that kept trying to serve my husband. It happened 3-4 times before I actually reached out to somebody for help, because this attorney, he didn't care that my husband was deployed. He didn't care about the SCRA Act. Truthfully, it just was nerve-wracking knowing that he kept coming to my door and having people try to serve me while my husband was gone and my kids were home. He actually tried to serve my son, thinking it was my husband one time.
So for our viewers at home that may not know what the SRA Act is, can you give some background on what that is?
It's the Service Members Relief Act, basically. So when a service member is deployed, you cannot do any kind of collection action. You can't serve them. You can't do anything like that. It basically puts all collection or any debts on hold until they get home.
So that must have been a very stressful and emotional time for you.
Right. And in actuality, it was a debt that we had actually addressed prior to my husband leaving.
How were you able to combat this?
I contacted Fowler. He helped me through the whole process of what I needed to do.
Was there a step-by-step process that Mr. Fowler and Money Life Raft took you through in order to stop the collections?
He helped me draw up the paperwork, what I needed, because obviously I didn't know what kind of paperwork to get to the court system. So he helped me draw up that paperwork so that I could get that to the court system and kind of walk me through the process of what actually worked and what my next steps would be if they came back to me after I filed the paperwork.
So what was the outcome from working with Money Life Raft and Mr. Fowler?
We filed with the court. The court dismissed it. We actually didn't end up having to pay what they, quote, said we needed to pay them. But they did come back after my husband got home and tried to serve him again. So we had to go through the whole process again once my husband got home. But we ended up not having to pay anything because we took a complaint to the bar, and the bar found that this guy was in the wrong 100%.
Where was your husband stationed, and what was it like for him? Because I'm sure he had to be emotional and stressed because of this while being deployed away from his family.
He was over in Qatar. This was during the beginning of the pandemic, so he kept getting extended, like anybody would be. He was stressed. He was dealing with being deployed and knowing his family was in distress. So it was difficult for him to try to deal with both, but I tried to keep as much from him as I could because I knew that he was dealing with plenty of other stuff over there.
Would you recommend Mr. Fowler and Money Life Raft?
He's an absolute saint.
All right. Well, we thank you so much, Savannah, for coming and sharing your story with us today, and we wish you good endeavors going forward. So now that you've heard some of James's stories about the military families that he's helped, we'd like to invite you to visit our website, moneyliferaft.com, and get more information about the SCRA, which are federal protection laws.
Coming up, identity theft. The problem is real. Meet a San Diego woman who needed legal help to battle bad actors.
What are the things that you need to provide him so he can compile the legal paperwork? He will make phone calls to the courthouses. He will get in touch with the plaintiff's lawyers. He is basically handling every step of the way.
So how much does legal help cost from Money Life Raft? Melissa?
Dawn, it's incentive-based because Money Life Raft is confident we will be successful in clearing or limiting your debt. We charge just 10% of the money reduced for you and a small upfront and monthly fee. It's our hands-on membership where you are assigned an attorney or legal consultant. Money Life Raft will advocate on your behalf, and you will receive all of the benefits from our silver membership. To get started with onboarding today, visit our website at moneyliferaft.com. Once again, that is moneyliferaft.com. You can also call the number on your screen.
Identity and data theft are no joke. The Federal Trade Commission monitors this and says identity fraud is up 50% in 2020 and 2021. Americans have suffered almost $50 billion in losses. And what's even worse, children are increasingly the victim of identity theft. The most common types of identity theft include medical, criminal, financial, and child identity theft. On the website moneyliferaft.com, we have a top 10 list to make your private information more secure. Here are a few. Check and freeze your credit report. It's easy to get a free weekly copy of your credit report to check fraudulent activity like new credit cards and loans and inquiries you don't recognize. Avoid using public Wi-Fi. Free public Wi-Fi makes it easy for scammers to connect to your devices. Avoid accessing your financial accounts over unsecured public Wi-Fi networks. Shred your documents. Bank statements, anything with your social security number, and old credit cards in your trash is what identity thieves are looking for. Welcome back to our special credit program brought to you by Money Life Raft. My name is Cassandra, and we're joined here today by Jasmine Suarez. How are you today, Jasmine?
Good. How are you?
Good. So give us a little bit of background.
I went through some challenging times, I would say about 4 years ago, and just got down on my luck. Some life events. I went through a divorce and found myself being a single mother. Through this situation, unfortunately, I was um, someone stole both my mother's and I's information. It was an individual that had access to my mother's apartment. So it was an individual that we considered friends of the family.
So you basically had your identity stolen.
Yeah, but what makes this really convoluted is at the time, I was struggling financially.
So how much debt were you in?
So Mr. Fowler is helping me right now with one of the larger credit cards. In total, just with this one creditor, he's going to have work for the rest of his life. But for this just one creditor, I believe it's just under $30,000 that he is helping me completely eliminate.
So what would you say the process of working with Money Life Raft and Mr. Fowler, the creator of the company, the founder of the company, what would you say the process is, and is it an easy process to go through?
He guides you every step of the way. You don't need to really know anything. You just, you know, typically, I will assume you come to Money Life Raft because you have a problem, right? So if we just simply take it from that perspective, when you have a money problem, you are probably not in the best headspace. You are probably not in the best emotional space. You are probably not thinking very clearly. You are overtaken by fear or anger or resentment or guilt, whatever that emotion is. Money Life Raft handles every aspect of it for you.
So what were the steps that Mr. Fowler took to get you out of debt?
So the steps he took was he spoke to me first, understood the situation, and then laid out what those steps would be. So whether, a lot of the times you're responding to legal paperwork. He helps you understand what is that legal paperwork, what are the things that you need to provide him so he can compile the legal paperwork. He will make phone calls to the courthouses. He will get in touch with the plaintiff's lawyers. He is basically handling every step of the way. He literally gives you a step-by-step instruction of what you're going to say in court and how you're going to say it. And I have experienced nothing but, I have always felt like I knew what I needed to do, or I was comfortable because he explained the process.
Thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story. We appreciate you.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to visit our website, moneyliferaft.com, where we have some news you can use and some membership information. And just remember, if you're drowning in debt, we can give you a hand up. Again, I'm Cassandra Walton, and I'll see you next time.
When these people call me on the phone and I listen to their stories, it can be anything from a mother trying to protect a child while their husband's overseas and somebody's trying to take their house. That's patently illegal, but unless somebody knows how to activate the system, they lose. The gang of lawyers that come in and are always attacking people and getting default judgments because people don't know how to respond, they lose. And it bothers me really bad to know that families are struggling and that they're suffering the pains that my family and I have. My family and I have had the financial issues as well as others, and that's how I learned to fight the system and do it effectively. There's a lot of good people out there, but there's a lot of bad ones, and when you come up against the bad ones, and generally the debt collectors are bad ones, and when they come after you, they don't care. All they're after is your money. It's money driven. I believe there's something in Scripture says the love of money is the root of all evil, and that is absolutely the truth. People that find themselves in these situations, whether they be collection or being accused or even family matters for that matter, they find that the system is one big bully. They don't have the rights that we believe we have, we don't. That you have to have somebody that, or I should say that they're not automatic. You have to have somebody that knows how to fight for those rights and make those rights effective. Sometimes it's a lawyer, sometimes it's an advocate, sometimes it's a counselor, but you're gonna have to have somebody that can beat the bully back. The system believes that you are property of it and that you will do as it says, when it says, and that you don't even have a right to dispute, when in fact, at least for now, we are in a situation in this country where we can still fight back. A lot of the system is designed to be so expensive to fight back that you can't. And these are things that really came to bother me, is that you are basically a victim right from the start. And I can tell you the tears that I've seen of others, the tears I've shed myself, the fear, the terror in people. It's because we learn when we're little kids that if a bully comes after you, you have to stand up to them no matter what it takes, or they'll keep coming back. And the only way to effectively get rid of them is to stand up to them.